I want to speak against the proposed Rivian deal for a variety of reasons. I think this is the wrong choice. I understand that we're trying to look towards the future, but I want to explain why this is the wrong choice for the future. We're here basically out of fear. What would happen if we lose the plant, it gets shuttered, it gets torn down? That would potentially be a disaster for the community. A lot of this is going to hinge on the value of the property. The worst case for the property is if we have a dilapidated, rundown building on it. Right now, it's going to maintain its value. If Rivian moves in, and whether or not they're successful, the value of the property and therefore the property tax revenue is not going to change significantly. It's based on the property itself, the building itself, not the contents or what they're doing in there. If the land gets turned back into farmland or even just leveled ground waiting to be developed, it will have a high value. About half the property is currently high-grade farmland, carries a significant price, about $10,000 an acre. And if it were to be cleared, it's in a desirable location. The value would be about the same if the property were cleared. Potentially could be developed, whether it'll be residential, whether it'll be commercial down the road. Those possibilities still exist. The worst scenario is if we have a rundown building. That's when the value plummets, because we have nobody to sell it to, nobody wants it, and nobody with the means to address the situation. So we've got 4 scenarios here in 2 branches. If we go forward with this deal and Rivian succeeds, the town is out about $4 million in property taxes, in grants, and years down the road we might see some added economic benefit from payroll and those sorts of things. But it's not going to come from the property taxes. In the meantime, we've shortchanged the schools, and we've all seen what a budget crisis has done with Unit 5 recently. I don't think we want to go back there and relive the busing fiasco that we had this fall. If Rivian fails, and that is by far the most likely outcome, they can't maintain a 2.1 million square foot facility. I mean, as the previous gentleman mentioned, we can't even get a gardener in here. I think if we're going to create 30 jobs right off the bat, one of them ought to be a security guard, one of them ought to be a groundskeeper, one of them ought to be a maintenance person. Apparently that's not happening. Ford, GM, and Subaru said the place is too big. That's one of the reasons they avoided it. How are they going to maintain this building? I used to work in the building industry for 15 years in places like Mitsubishi. I was a maintenance technician on a robotic assembly line. I can tell you the building, the structure, and the equipment needs a lot of maintenance. If they fail, there's nobody then to demolish the property. If we avoid this deal and allow Maynard's to go through, one of 2 scenarios happens. There's time to possibly find a more viable candidate as a tenant, which would be a great outcome, because believe me, if I thought this was going to work, I would be on board with it, absolutely. The other scenario is that we don't find someone, the building is torn down, and it is a sad scenario, I grant you that. A lot of the people have invested a lot of time there, they would have moved on. So if Maynard's tears it down, they have the finances and the resources to do that, and the property then is available as a viable tax-producing body, and the tax money still flows. That's why I think Rivian is the worst option in this case. Thank you for your time.